Hello. I'd like to take a few minutes and discuss our first project of Module 2. Module 2 covers basic digital audio editing and other techniques associated with digital audio. And in this section, we explore the signal path, the digital audio signal path, which is really important. And this project explores basic operations associated with a DAW or a DAW. I just wanted to step through this together, if you will, and explain some things. So let me show you a few slides about this. Our first project of Module 2 is called Alphabet Soup, and this is something that we do in my freshman Intro to Music Tech class at Eastern. And we do it pretty early in the term, and it's a great way to explain basic tape functions and editing functions. Historically, they're very important, and also just in terms of being able to use a DAW in the future for your own purposes and for future projects. So the Alphabet Soup project basically explores the historical origins of tape editing. And we do this because all modern DAWs have the same basic functions. They have transport controls that allow you to play, stop, pause, and rewind. They have input-output settings or I/O settings that allow you to monitor signal coming in and out. And they provide for us tape editing functions like cut, copy, paste, split, splice, and loop. And track functions like solo, mute, record, enable, pan, and your output levels. All of these are derived from our analog tape editing from the 20th century, which we can see and explore in some of these images I have on this slideshow. So this is a mid-century tape studio or an early electronic music studio. This couple, Bibi and Louis Barron, they are famous for their soundtrack to the movie Forbidden Planet from 1956. And this is a great, I just like this picture because it shows the controlled chaos of any studio, really, but also the amount of analog equipment that is necessary in a studio of this type, and historically what people were using in the 50s and 60s and throughout the 20th century, even today. A lot of studios insist on analog tape. The next slide shows basically what you have to do to an analog reel-to-reel tape to edit any of it. And if any of you have done any analog tape editing, you know the struggle, and the struggle is real, that you basically are working with your ears to play and find audio that you want to cut out, literally cut out of a tape, and then splice it and adhere it to a new tape. And once you do that, it is a forever edit because you're cutting the tape apart. So on the top left, you'll see how we view the playback heads of a tape machine. And just to be quick about that, your tape passes along a series of tape heads. One is to record, and one is to play, and one is to erase. And as that travels from left to right across the tape heads, you can hear and mark with a grease pencil or some other marking device the back of the tape to identify the sound you want to cut. You then pull the tape off the tape heads and then place it onto a splicing block, which is on the top right of this slide. The splicing block allows you to cleanly cut with a razor blade the sound off of the tape. You could either do it straight or by an angle. And the difference between those two cuts is simply if you want it to be an abrupt change in sound or a gradual change in sound. That is literally how fades worked on analog tapes. You would cut at an angle if you wanted that to be gradually introduced into the audio, or if you wanted it to be abruptly done. You would do it by a 90-degree cutting or a 45-degree cutting. You would then tape literally adhere those new cuts to tape. And at the bottom, you can see someone using a razor blade to cut the tape, and also some splicing tape that is below, it's actually stuck to the splicing block. And so after, I've done this for other projects in graduate school and things like that. And let me tell you, I am glad we don't have to do this anymore if we don't necessarily want to. Digital audio techniques, our digital audio workstations make this extremely easy. So what we're going to do with the Alphabet Soup project is import a audio file of someone narrating the alphabet backwards into a digital audio workstation. And for this one, I really recommend downloading and installing Audacity. It's free, and if you have the means to do so, I recommend that you do that. I have a link in the introductory section of this class. You can follow the link and download it and install it. It just takes a few minutes. If you don't have the ability to install software, if you're using a Chromebook, you can use Soundtrap. Soundtrap is an online DAW that lets you get the job done. You don't get to see the waveforms as clearly on Soundtrap, but that's okay. It will still work. So in this assignment, we're going to be doing a series of functions for DAWs. Import, where you're importing the MP3 of the file. You're then using basic tape editing functions, cut, copy, paste, and multitrack, to rearrange the letters of that original track to spell your first and last name. You're then forced to do the following. You need to observe the waveforms of each letter and its transients. Transients are basically the noise patterns that make the wave shape change over time. So for instance, a transient for a drum sound would be an abrupt hit at the beginning and a gradual decay at the end. Or if the letter T is spoken, you can see the waveform create the letter T with the noise at the beginning. You will then need to create a new second audio track to place the letters into and arrange accordingly. So you're cutting letters off of the original track and placing it into the new track and rearranging them in the right order. And then you also need to manage multiple tracks because you need to mute the original audio track and export to the new audio file, which you will upload to the Dropbox. So there's a series of functions here that we're going to be working with. So let me demonstrate that using Audacity and then Soundtrap. And it's not too difficult once we get into it. So on our, let me make sure I'm using the right, there we go. Okay. So in the project, you will download this audio file here. That audio file will then be on your computer. Once you download and install Audacity, you get a blank DAW. And this is a good time to showcase the parts of a DAW. I'm sorry, excuse me. These are the transport controls. This is your input-output settings, input and output. This is your output monitor. And these are your basic tool sets here. We are going to go to the File menu and import audio. You will get a dialog box that asks for what audio file you're going to import, and you just import the one you downloaded, and you say open. And here we see our transients and our waveforms.
Z, Y,
as it
X,
plays, you can see
W,
the output monitor,
V, U,
and the waveform
T,
and the
S.
playback head. And this is basically showing us what's on a tape, or if you were in an analog tape realm. However, we're not. This is digital, so that's fantastic. So to do this, we need to use our mute and solo functions. We need to create a new track, add new. We can call this a mono track, that's fine. And you then follow the patterns and identify the letters you need. So my first name is Brad, so I'm going to select B here and select it and make sure it's right. So we're using basic cut, copy, and paste functions. So on my Mac, it's Command C for copy, or on a PC, it might be Control C. For copy, Command C, I'm going to copy B and place it at the beginning of my my second track, excuse me, and hit Command V or Control V to paste. These are the same functions that are in Word or any other editing software. So this is B.
B, Z, Y.
So notice once I start placing letters in my second track, I can hear two of them at the same time, and that's rather annoying. So I'm going to solo my second track so that I only hear it, right? And this is a great opportunity to teach mutant solo and how that's handy. Let me find R. So Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T,
S,
S.
R.
So that's my R. Notice the waveform is unique for that letter. I'm going to hit Command C and Command V.
B, Z, R.
Oh, I need to solo that.
B, R.
Okay, and then I go down over here to A, etc. And again, you can kind of see how this teaches a few different things, and it's a quick and easy assignment to get everybody used to using a DAW and importing, editing, and exporting an audio file. And you're just simply spelling your first and last name. And if you have a really short name, then lucky you don't have a whole lot of work to do. If you have a long name, then lucky you get to get a lot of practice. So let's see.
B, R, A, D.
Okay, so that's my first name. You can spell your full first name if you want to, but you definitely your first and last name as you are typically referred to. And so once you assemble your whole name, excuse me, you then make sure that you mute your original track. Make sure if you want to solo the second one, that's fine too. And then you go to File, Export. Export as MP3. And this is another time to talk about how DAWs are there to manage audio. And if you save an Audacity file, that's proprietary to Audacity. That's not something that just anybody can listen to. It's like creating a Word document or a PDF. A PDF is universal. Anybody can view a PDF on any device. However, a Word document is for editing and for assembling. So we don't want to submit an Audacity file because that is how you're editing and submitting. What you'd want to submit is an MP3 because that is a finished audio file that is universal and can be played on most anything. So we're going to export it as an MP3, and you're going to name it with your last name, please. That helps me keep track of things. And then we want to eliminate any odd characters that are in the file name. Sometimes Audacity or GarageBand or other DAWs like to put the date and time and colons and slashes, and remove those from the file name because D2L cannot understand those file characters. And so we're going to save that. And it's going to ask you for metadata, which is basically artist name and title and things that are connected to the file that are pulled into like iTunes and things like that to help identify songs. For this case, we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to hit OK. And it's usually a good idea to go back and listen to your file. I actually don't remember where I exported it to. It's a good idea to go back and, it's in my documents file. To go back and listen to your file to make sure that it's correct. Just double click it and listen to it and monitor it, make sure it's fine.
X, W.
So that's my original file, and this is my name.
B, R, A, D.
Okay, and I would also include my last name on this too. Obviously, I'm doing that quickly. So that's the Audacity method, and I think that's the best one for this assignment. If you cannot install Audacity on your Chromebook or other device, you can use Soundtrap. So Soundtrap is a website where you may have to create a free account. You will not need to pay for this. And if you enter Studio, you go to Music, and you can go to File and Add New Track, and then Import File. We're going to go to Import File, and then it'll ask you for where to find it, and then you navigate to your file that you downloaded. And you can see how it's going to show you that waveform, but it's
Z, Y,
it's different.
X.
It looks quite different. And you can still see the letters. It's just a little harder. To split any, and you can't really select like you can in Audacity, but you can split a region. So let's say I want B, which is right here.
B.
I have to split at the playhead. So to split, you hit Command E. I'm sorry, my dog is barking. You hit Command E at the beginning and end of the file. Command E. And you can then copy and add a new track. And then hit paste. And it's the same function. So here we've got, we can mute, we can solo, we can record, enable, and all those other things. So if you wanted to hear only this track, you would mute this one. So you would still get
B.
And so on. And in this case, if I create, I think R is here. Let's see.
R.
Okay, so I remember here is R. So I'm going to hit Command E at the beginning and Command E at the end. Copy, paste. And if I want to export this one, if I assemble my full name, I go to File, Export, Export Project to MP3. And it's the same process. And of course, you have to save the project and go through the dialogues, but it's rather intuitive. If you have questions, don't hesitate to call me or email me. But like I said, I think this project is great for an introductory DAW assignment for any age. And we'll use this exported MP3 for our next project, which will be about editing and plugins and processing of audio and making fun stuff out of it. So thank you.